It's like you forgot the curtains over here. We're going full fourth wall break over here. Forgot to do the overlay, but welcome to the weekend. It's too
There it
late, bro.
is.
It's
There it
now.
is.
The
Brought it
weekend
back.
must watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through the movies, TV, and entertainment that people just can't cut away from. I'm your co-host Arturo Zurita, and joining me as the biggest Marvel fan from all the phases, all the timelines, it's Zachary Shevich.
What's going on, buddy? It's a big week in the MCU. Big week at the box office. Big week at Comic Cons. Big week.
Massive.
Big week online. You can't escape it.
Yeah.
It's an old-fashioned clear out of the movie theaters. No competing movies. No other things to divert your interest. I was looking like, did even Netflix put out a big movie this weekend to try and counter program? No, not really.
Not even the
Everybody
pickup.
made way for Deadpool and Wolverine, and the early box office returns seem to indicate that was a pretty smart decision.
The what was it? Rated R pre-tickets, the pre-sale was insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last Deadpool made fun of the fact that they made more than Jesus. Excuse me, for Passion of the Christ. I can't even think of what the other R-rated movie would be. I think it's right now in competition with Joker.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had the biggest R-rated debut. I actually didn't
Has to.
confirm that.
No, it
But
has to. It's
yeah,
200, bro.
200 million seems like
200
far
mil
and away.
was what in the early Avengers days everyone was hoping to break. Was the Dark Knight Rises going to break it? Was Avengers? Oh, they got it there. It is. Yeah, it's doing absolute crazy numbers. You've only seen it once. I assume you're only going to see it once. But I have had
Fair
all the
assumption.
theaters near me. All the theaters near me have been packed, bro. Like to the brim that it's got to be rewatching. And we're still on its first weekend. And I'm seeing stuff all throughout Monday. Tuesday, insane. If that's probably the day that people have been waiting for, if not going to go see it again now that they've been able to experience it opening weekend. They didn't have tickets to see it again on a Sunday or something. And now they can probably get it on the cheap. But which way did you see it? I got to see it in Dolby the first time.
I ended up going with I think it was a laser 3D, IMAX 3D, not the full IMAX. It didn't make the trek out to the big Lincoln Square screening, but
Uh-huh.
a LIMAX 3D screening.
Well, it depends. If you saw it in IMAX, you know they have a special release for IMAX.
Do they?
Yeah, so it doesn't go full 3D, or sorry, it doesn't go the full ratio because it's a wide movie. But
Mhm.
if you see it in 3D, it comes out at you. I haven't seen it in 3D. That was the other version I want to see it. I haven't been able to yet. It looks pretty good because the movie looks like crap. So in 3D, you would think that's the reason why they pop out so much from it.
Yeah, adds a little
The
something.
the IMAX 3D is supposed to go past the bars because your IMAX screen doesn't get filled up. Instead, in the black is where the 3D comes out. How was that?
I mean, to be honest, it didn't really register. There was not that much dynamicism outside of the opening title sequence with the whole
That's
dance
the thing where
number
they come out
like
at you.
that. But beyond that, it was just individual moments and not anything that really like stood out to me. Although I wasn't looking for that, I wasn't aware that was a
Yeah,
element
I
they
thought
were
that was
adding.
interesting. That was the big push that they had. I know they got 40x. I don't care to get beat up in 40x.
Mhm.
Um,
Not
but
after
to me,
Twisters.
yeah, not after Twisters. I say Dolby, or there is a really good version for you to catch. The closed captioning version. That is the one that you need if you have fans that are screaming or laughing or wooing over some of the dialogue in the movie. There are some characters in this movie. I don't know how much spoilers we're going to get into, but there are some characters that make cameo
Yeah.
appearances. Yeah, those boys needed captions.
I
And
think
even with the
there's
captions, I couldn't understand what he was saying.
I think there's so little happening this week that we can devote a spoiler section later in the podcast to
Oh,
this movie.
it
So
was ridiculous. I mean, the whole podcast is going to be Marvel based. So,
yeah.
for those of you tuning into this Deadpool MCU a-thon, I love how the fact that they're even announcing newer characters later on with the Comic Con news that it's not a surprise. It's not something you're going to see in the trailer in the movie. They're not going to be able to hide it. Here it is. Here is this
Mhm.
big person who's going to be coming back. But now that we've talked about how we've seen it, I don't know if you got the page up for it, but Deadpool, the newest one, the third in the trilogy. There was rumors there was supposed to be Deadpool and Friend. And then eventually a late night call, or I think it was like a mid-evening call. Hugh Jackman decided, you know what? I can't keep making money on the Broadway way. I need to come back while I still can to be suited up to ride or die. Called them up. And for the third one, they were able to change it. I heard the last minute before this year's Super Bowl, they had theaters with the Deadpool and Friend sign, posters, cardboard cutouts, and they switched it all last minute so they can officially title it Deadpool and Wolverine, the long-awaited matchup, buddy cop, road trip movie, whatever I guess you want to call it. Ever since Wolverine Origins, when they first met in 2010, they're now gathered here together to create this movie parody. I got to see it before you did, and when we were on the Patreon hangout, I threw a lot out there with just trying to be as cryptic as possible. But I think mainly the way that I put it for you guys was that this is a super scary movie. This is the Wayans Brothers scary movies where it's parodying not just the MCU, but any of the superhero genre that's out there. You and I are old enough to remember Disaster Movie, the actual superhero movie, Revenge of the Spartans or whatever it was. There was so many copies of the Scary Movie franchise after it kind of just divulged when Saturday Night Live or Vines were able to make parodies faster than they were, where you got all of these really crappy movies. This feels like a throwback to the old school parody movie that we used to get where everyone's supposed to be in on the joke, but we're in this new era where it is owned by the company who's making fun of themselves. But if you look back, what's the one scary movie franchise you remember the scary movies making fun of?
I mean,
who comes out in every one? Do you know who owns Scream? Dimension. So when they made scary movies, they were just making fun of Scream because Scream was supposed to be called Scary Movie. Weinstein didn't want to give him the name, then hit him under by giving Scary Movie to the parody movies. So it is a little funny that the MCU, who has the rights to allow him to be able to get away with a lot of these jokes, has also given it to him. I said I liked it out of the first watch that I came out of. I went back, saw it again. 1 second, Zach.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Really in suspense right here. I have no idea what he's going to bring back. Because the only thing that I got from my screening were these focus questions. These
the heck is that?
It was a whole questionnaire asking what we liked about the movie.
You took a pop quiz after the movie?
No, I left. I got out of there, but I did take the test home with me.
What'd you score?
I guess incomplete. I didn't. I'm curious though, which of the following words and phrases, if any, would you use to describe Deadpool and Wolverine? Action-packed, epic, big event movie, good story, great music, unique/original. I don't need to go through all of them. What did you get?
I had to, bro.
I
didn't even know. Yeah,
but it's not the popcorn bucket. It's just the drink holder.
No, we're family friendly over here. I was not gonna get that popcorn bucket. I know they had a Deadpool one of these, bro. This was I didn't even know about this till the day I went to my screening. I'm like, damn, bro, that's actually kind of fire. I kind of like it. It's got this gripness to it. It might be even more sexual than the popcorn bucket, I guess. But no, this is. I've been throwing everything into this bad boy.
Because you're also X-Men 97 guy. Is he full yellow costumed out in X-Men 97?
Yeah, but that's the cartoons. That's what the joke has always been. They announced barely this week that the reason the OG X-Men live action movies were never in this color wave was because of Matrix. I had no idea about that. They were so big on nobody was going to come watch it if they were dressed like cartoons. They're like, let's just copy the latex, all the dark that they had over there for the Matrix movies. And that's what they kept. They found success with it. There's that joke that he does in the movie where he goes, wow, it's been 20 years until he got in this. I thought he looked dope in it. He looked really cool. I have one gripe that we'll get into as we further into it. But Zach, I liked the movie. I bought the merch. I've seen it a couple of times.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I gotta be honest, I thought it was pretty terrible. I don't think that really matters in this specific scenario. Sometimes I have frustrations with the MCU that I feel like they should be doing things differently to make these movies more successful. But as you were sort of talking about last week, this is a movie that is really hitting fans right where they want it to be hit. I think it's really finely tuned for the people who are very into these movies to really enjoy them. I saw it with a public crowd, and there was lots of applause and laugh at the many references and stuff. I'm just noting that from my experience, this is one of the first MCU films that I feel like is really just almost like an active fuck you to people who don't care about these characters or these franchises. Like they just
Why do you feel that?
they spend absolutely no time trying to like establish any kind of connection with Deadpool or Wolverine in this movie. It is entirely reliant on you coming in with a lot of like baggage or association or
In the third
you know,
movie?
connection to these characters. Yeah, sure, but like I don't bring that connection in from the first couple movies, so I don't. To me, this is a movie without any stakes. You know, it's all timeline mumbo jumbo nonsense where everything just feels like, you know, wiping the slate clean and starting over from the beginning at the end. It's all just a little bit weightless for me, and it's fine in most scenarios when you're talking about like what is a comedy. But I think the big thing that differentiates this from the first two Deadpool films, both of which I liked, I not didn't love, but I liked, is that this is trying to have its cake and eat it too, because it is, as you mentioned, like a super silly parody movie in line with the scary movies and stuff like that. But then there is this earnestness in it too. It is actually trying to have this emotional core and get you to connect with the journey that these characters are on, which is it's so like falsely created.
Interesting. So you do think that there's an emotional core?
There's an attempt at it. I
Okay.
it is the movie is very kind of like obfuscated what it is too. Like they keep alluding to this dark past that that this character has, but I don't know, we can get
Who,
more into
Wolverine?
spoilers if we want. But yeah, this version of the Wolverine, I guess.
Yeah. So again, the breakdown here is that for the last two movies, he's been hinting at what's his name coming in. Obviously, this is a movie that breaks the fourth wall, so a lot of the jokes aren't even for the MCU. There are jokes that dig at Hugh Jackman, jokes that are always digging at what's his name. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the cynicism in the movie. So you
Mhm.
talking about like the earnestness, I think is interesting because there's been a lot of critiques and praise for the movie, right? You get into one of
Yeah.
those where it's like people are overpraising it, people are over belittling it. I think in terms of not seeing the movie for the downs that it has, which is obviously the factor of it needs to play two things at once. It
Yeah.
needs to be this parody where it's almost trying to be a referee for the MCU, which I think could be really funny, but it can also be an excuse for the movie and for why it looks like crap, why the story itself, which I had said, it's not the strongest for what it's supposed to be. This really just feels like a playground and where they're using these characters to be able to make, like what I said, is I wouldn't even call it satire as much as it is through and through a parody film on what's happening. Does it
Mhm.
excuse what Marvel is doing? I don't think so. But the two critiques that I've seen the most that make no sense to me are either talking about its cynicism, which I don't think it's cynical. I heard someone complaining that the movie made fun of Mad Max and George Miller, and like they rode that home as that being the thing that they really disliked. I'm like, bro, they are like it's the way Tarantino would homage the movies that he likes. There is no diss there. Everything that Deadpool says in the movie is like the control verse from Kendrick Lamar. If you're not being mentioned, that's the actual insult, in my opinion. So I think the idea that anything that he's saying is punching down when I think he's always punching up, I think is a mistake on
Mhm.
the movie. The same way that the idea of what it's trying to approach in the sense of it being in the middle of the MCU, is it not just kind of helping the MCU with all the faults that it has? And I would agree. That is a debacle that we have in a lot of movies. I'm curious why Barbie gets a pass for some people and this one doesn't. If the idea isn't the quality of the movie, but when a product is helping the company itself, they both do the exact same thing. You could prefer one over the other, but the thesis itself cannot be excused for one movie and not the other. That's how I feel.
Sure, I would argue that there's like a lot more creativity and just
That's fair. Yeah,
ingenuity in
sure.
Barbie.
I'm
Um,
willing to accept that.
but
But
like
the
this is something
idea that
we
a movie can't be,
right. This is something we talked about when Barbie came out too, is that like, yeah, there is humor that does kind of make fun of
oh yeah, we did.
Mattel and make fun of Barbie, but it's all kind of toothless. And I describe a lot of the stuff here too as toothless. Like it makes fun of Hugh Jackman because he wants to be on Broadway, but like that's still like, yeah, Hugh Jackman's on Broadway, you know? Like they're not making fun of Marvel for like the whole Jonathan Majors scenario or the
Okay,
relationship with China or anything like
bruh.
that.
I'll give you one.
Mhm.
For Hugh Jackman, there's a him letting himself go joke that was funny, bro. I did not
Yeah.
think they were gonna let that one pass. I thought that one hit.
No, I'm not saying they're not funny. I'm
I
just
was
saying
waiting
they're
for a Kang joke so bad
Mhm.
because that would have been it. Yeah.
Right.
Feige said no cocaine and no Kang. If he would have slipped in a Kang joke in there, I think a lot of the detractors would have been like, okay, I see you talking about that stuff. You just
Exactly.
mentioned China. Boy, you know that's a short film that y'all recommended last week. That is not going to be on a Marvel theater. I finally caught, if you could pull that one up as well, the new short from Jim Cummings, like right before I went to go see this for a second watch. And look, I'm not going to say it contextualizes something that we don't already know, but that is a short film you need to go catch that's making fun of the fact that Marvel uses Make-A-Wish kids in order to be able to get the one up. There is no better person to be able to display a movie that you're also worried might leak than a kid who may not make it by the presentation. You got to watch this one too, right?
Yeah, is now a good time?
It there is one specific part, the act of actually going to go show it to the kid. You and I go through that every time we open up a Disney showing. We have to get everyone's blood in the household to make sure that they're not going to snitch about what we're watching. They make you sign your life
Mhm.
away. But there's that question that the kid asks about, like, are there any gay characters? And it's like, again, y'all need to watch the movie. I don't want to spoil it all, but there's that one specific segment in bringing up, is it bad that they don't have them? Is it good that they don't have them? Where do they actually put their gay characters, and have they already done the math because those movies won't play overseas? Here's where I
Mhm.
find it the most interesting. Deadpool doesn't fit those two movies that were mentioned in this short, and he is somehow the gayest character.
That's honestly a
I think I'm mute.
concern I had going into Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, that was really plays up this whole idea of like the homoerotic relationship between the two of them and this very
Yeah.
like frat boyish kind of uh haha what if gay kind of humor. And like, you know, we'll make a joke like that occasionally, but like it's a big difference between something that is like a spontaneous thing that happens in conversation and jokes that or you sell your $200 million movie on. But
Mhm.
there is like maybe a bit less of that than I was anticipating based on the marketing. I really enjoyed the section of the movie that is like the fight, the fight slash sex scene, or like a fight scene as sex scene inserts. That in the inside the was it
A Honda Odyssey?
the Honda Odyssey scene?
You praising the Honda Odyssey scene?
Yeah, I thought that was clever.
Bro, we needed more of that. There are moments
Yeah,
where it's like, wait, y'all have choreographers on this set?
right, right.
Maybe no intimacy
Maybe
coordinators,
you
but
could have
that
had a
stuff
little
was
bit
cool.
maybe you could have had a little bit more. I thought a lot of the action outside of moments like that was
Yeah.
like fairly anonymous, kind of chopped up in a way where you're not really seeing much of anything. It's just bits, you know, piecemeal. But
Yeah.
there's moments like that stand out a little more.
I think the choreography in the movie is done very well throughout all of it. From the dancing sequence at the beginning, where it's obviously not even him, they had to get an actual dancer because he was doing it a little too smooth. Some of the effects for what they were trying to do with the intro with the TVA.
How what percentage of Deadpool on screen do you think is Ryan Reynolds in the suit? Because
You know,
I'm willing to go under 50% for this movie.
wow, you're going Vin Diesel's body double on this, huh?
I'm going almost Pedro Pascal and the Mandalorian on this.
Whoa, but Pedro Pascal and the Mandalorian supposedly was there the entire time.
Uh, excuse me.
Reportedly,
I'm sure he
allegedly,
was there the
supposedly,
whole
right? Yeah,
time.
I'm sure he
Yes,
was there the entire time. Hey, I've said the exact same thing for Deadpool. Like, why would he have to be there?
right.
His highest grossing and the thing that he's known for the most is when he's wearing a mask. Yeah, why would you not be doing a Yeezy listening party where you just go out there, just send whoever you want in these masks, Zach? I've told you they've politicized these masks, and I now see why. It's because they don't want to go into work. It's the look. I how could you not? You can't tell when it's his body double for action, for dancing. It's okay to have
Yeah.
a stand-in at times. So it's like,
I'm not
why
saying that as a
wouldn't
criticism, to be
no, yeah.
clear. It's just
What's
the
an extra week or two that he's probably not there? No, you are opening up to something that, from the Mandalorian to this, to a lot of artists who now wear masks out in public for when they're performing, they really don't need to be there, and you're not going to know the difference. I would say that from a fan's perspective, I'd be more pissed off at a show that's live than this,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
here, it's like the perfect way of getting away with it. It's almost like he's voice acting, live action wise. Good for
Mhm.
him, I guess, right? Um, yeah, I would say a lot. But back in terms of the action, it's what allows him to be able to film a lot of the other stuff without him having to be there. Half of the movie is probably him in the suit doing the jokes. The other half is what we always say about Marvel, their Unit B, the second unit going over there and filming a lot of those action sequences. But that's why you get the Honda Odyssey scene. Incredible choreography. Why does it look bad? Why can't we block it a
Mhm.
little bit better? Why are the
Mhm.
colors atrocious? When they're fighting in the void, that was one where I was like, look, I'm always a little iffy on the joke that crosses. Haha, doesn't it look like crap? Yeah, but y'all are supposed to be having the next big fight here. I think that's where the next big Avengers movies are going to happen. I'm like, oh, perfect. That way it's green screen and you don't have to worry about anything. It was something we mentioned with Twisters last week that we were so surprised with how good it looked because they were okay going out to go film in the middle of nowhere. They were actually filming outside, and that isn't a movie that really needs paparazzi. But they kind of had protective services because, they were filming in tornadoes. They'll just be taken away. Here, because of the paparazzi, because of all of the leaks, they're never filming in real places. It's never going to feel like Dune or Furiosa. It's going to look like this. It's going to look like they're in this ginormous cube and
Yeah.
all of the set pieces from the Ant-Man HQ. Dude, there's even the scene at the end because people were like, no, they filmed in that with the
Street
bus
setting?
scene. What a lot. Like you could feel
Yeah.
it end on the other side, dude. It was almost worse than the void because they tried. Kind of what you were saying about the earnestness may almost make the story worse.
Yeah.
Production wise, I'd rather y'all just
No, yeah, that it's the most California, New York City block that you've ever seen.
yikes.
And like, yeah, I think that's a fair point about the production of these movies, and since so much of it relies on the secrecy, they feel like they have to be doing a lot of these on sets and stuff like that. There's other productions that have managed stuff like this in better
Eternals though.
settings. Um,
Eternals was the best version of
mhm.
them actually going outside to film. Remember that Feige gasped? He said outside.
Right, but like even within the MCU system, there are people who know how to shoot it better and people who know how to shoot it
Very true.
worse. And
That's true.
Sean Levy just kind of has no distinctive visual style. Like you look through his history of
Let's do
filmmaking,
that.
he's
Let's do that. Let's do that. Because I was looking back, you know, I may have been a little more harsh on Sean Levy because of the most recent stuff, but it's not the worst track record.
yeah,
It's not
well,
the
like
worst.
no, he is a Hollywood director for hire. He's a
That's fair.
classic.
Howard,
He's a classic on assignment guy. He's not an auteur. He's not a Oscar winner, but he makes movies that people see. A lot
yeah,
of people saw Night at the Museum. A lot of
that's
people saw
classic, bro.
Free Guy. I thought Real Steel is actually
Real
all
Steel.
right.
Real Steel's the reason all this happened? They
Uh,
worked together on that movie. He
Him
told
and Hugh
him, hey,
Jackman.
Hugh Jackman told him, yo, Sean, you work with this guy named Ryan Reynolds and you guys will never stop working with each other. He cursed it. That's the reason why. Sean Levy been with Ryan Reynolds ever since Hugh told him go
Also,
link up
Real
with them.
Steel is to blame
Yeah.
for
There's a
my
couple
anxiety.
Real
Great.
Steel Easter eggs in this movie as well because they've been trying to make a sequel to that. So that's like their movie. Him and Hugh Jackman. They really like Real Steel.
I
So for
I
the
do
Real Steel
not
defenders
remember
out
Real
there,
Steel like that enough to point those out.
bro, I didn't think it was that big, but these boys love that movie. Look, Cheaper by the Dozen to me is also a classic. You got Big Fat Liar where they painted that boy blue. Man, I had to go deep in the trenches. The famous Jet Jackson movie directed by Sean Levy. I had to take an
Damn,
insult
that's
back.
that's a 5-star classic.
Yes or no? Right?
That's probably the best movie on his resume,
Damn, you actually logged that one too.
and gave it a positive score. I love Jet Jackson. Shouts to the
Damn,
lately
bro.
Thompson Young.
R.I.P. Rest in peace. But you see, he's been in the trenches. He's been in there. He's been
Yeah,
making stuff that he
he's
knows is
working.
going to hit audiences, right? And I
And
can't bash him
of the
for that.
movies that he's made with Ryan Reynolds, this might be the best one.
I think it's better than Free Guy. I don't like the Adam Project. That's where a lot of my disdain started coming
Yeah.
into play, especially when Ryan. We're not focused on Ryan yet, but for Sean, he specifically has been trying to make these family films. They don't even include his TV stuff in there, but he is Stranger Things. He is the one who took the Duffers pitch and made it a reality. He's directing episodes every season. He even has some of the best episodes from the last season that I ended up liking the most from Stranger Things. So I think you're right in calling him like that Ron Howard dude who they're able to call up and be able to get you something that the audience is going to care for. Audiences don't care for color theory like that or certain blocking or overuse of songs. So he's going to be able to get that pass when it comes to mainstream audiences and make a whopping almost $500 million opening weekend. Because you also have Ryan Reynolds, where when you click on him, dude, this is one where I feel like the pendulum swung so much the other way that he almost like refixed it for him, that there is no need to do anything different. Ryan Reynolds has been playing the same person since Still Waiting. I rewatched Blade Trinity. Bro, he stole that movie from Wesley Snipes and tried to make it his gimmick. There is no reason. The third Blade has him saying, I just ate garlic and I just farted. Bro, he's been doing this Deadpool gimmick for so long, and it finally hit. He did it in Pikachu. He did it in life, up in space.
He does it
for
in,
no reason.
in Mint Mobile commercials.
Aviation commercials. He does it everywhere. This is the first time that I think it actually worked. The only time he didn't do it was in If, which I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's actually pretty decent.
If's not good. And it's funny that you say that, because this is actually the point where I just grew. I think I finally grew so tired of that, like that like.
Wait, hold on. Say that again.
Fellow, aren't I?
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
That like lightness he gets in his voice when he thinks he's being a cheeky devilish.
He does have that little high voice that he goes up to.
Yeah, and it just forecasts the jokes so much. And like, look, I find him plenty entertaining in a lot of things, but I have found that shtick particularly growing very tired, and it caught up with me here. It's funny that it did the reverse for you.
News anchor? I think we're glitching a little bit, but you know how news anchor has that same inflection? I don't know, I can't hear you back, but the point I'm trying to make, I'm not sure if you're coming through in here this way, but if you got a news anchor who does the exact same inflection, you got YouTubers who do the exact same inflection. There's a point where I think it does get stale, but because it works, they never try anything different. New news anchors, new YouTubers come in, they do the exact same thing. This man's been doing this bit for so long that while for you and I who watch so much of his stuff, we end up going like, bro, this is just like the same bit again, the same inflection. I can read it. It's what ends up working the most for general audiences. And I think that that's why as if you're going to get like 10 people to complain, but you're still getting 1 million views, then that's a lot better than trying something different so that the 10 viewers can like you and millions don't. And that's the route that he's gone. And I wonder how much of that comes into play when talking about this being the worst MCU, because I saw a review that threw me for a loop. I told you that there were people at my screening who laughed and then went home and pretended like they didn't laugh. I think we vote for movies. We almost like do it the way we do political things. Like, I can't mention the good things that got me because I'm on a crusade to make sure that these movies are. You're not.
This movie represents the things I don't like, so I can't like it.
You hit the dartboard right on the bullseye, my friend. I don't understand that. You're not going to win anybody, first and foremost, because nobody reads your writing. Second, because you're not going to fight against this entire powers that be to fight a superhero movie that people like when you're lying about the jokes that work for you. The 2 screenings that I went were so abruptly different. Mm-hmm. Nobody laughed in my second public screening unless it was an Office joke. And by that, I mean like The Office, where they can make a reference and some people laugh, but it's when Kevin drops the water that people laugh. That was my second audience. They only laughed at the stuff, the slapstick stuff that was right in your face. Comedy, like you were saying, haha, gay, or haha, you slipped, haha, any of that stuff. Just the most blatant humor. They did not laugh at what I'm going to die by role player. Where's the intimacy coordinator? The budget? All of those jokes were the jokes that the critics were dying at my screening, who then laughed and pretended like they did not laugh at any of those jokes. That was throwing me for a loop because they feel like they're fighting against this thing, as if there isn't a dozen other movies that they could review that sometimes they don't, or they do and no one reads them. So this was like the point where I'm like, y'all are really lying about the jokes you really liked in this movie. I know what fans were laughing at, and I know what critics were laughing at. And they have so many bits that are parody beyond superhero movies. It's about sets. It's about the idea of like, how long have we been here? The Taylor joke? Your Taylor's a predator?
Right.
Bro, there were some people who laughed at that joke who I know were from the section that works for the studios. Like, this man was breaking fourth walls here and there for a lot of things. There was a wig joke. There's that theory that there's a big superhero actor. I'm not going to say who it was, but let's just say all three of them are in this movie, who supposedly is bald, but wears a toupee.
Mhm.
And he's got a whole bit about like, and no one knows at home, buddy, they all know. And I'm like, yo, he's making a lot of really funny, deep cut jokes, not just from an MCU perspective, but from like an industry, from a personal perspective.
Mhm.
I don't know. I thought it worked. It worked multiple
See, that's
times.
the thing, though, is it's some of the deep cutness of it is where it does rub me a little bit of the wrong way, where
Why?
like it is so firmly a movie for people who are like who read slash film in 2015. You know what I mean? Like it's so deep in its own lore that I feel like it kind of the reference is sometimes as deep as a lot of it goes, and it's like I'm
Like, which
sure I
one?
remember that
Give
too.
me one. Give me one.
I mean, to be honest, like the big cameo of the movie, and like I don't know if this is the point where we need to start getting into spoilers to really talk about it,
They
but
know. Let's go. Full spoilers. Do a little lower tag right there, so when they come in, they know. But all that stuff was spoiled opening weekend. By the time I was describing it to you guys with no spoilers, I couldn't search up anything without it already being out there.
Mhm.
But I want to get into it. Let's talk about that stuff because I see even here. I know earlier I think you may have started something. Um, I don't believe it's the worst in the MCU. Just going through the chat really quick. Um, let's see. Could you tell that it was written during a writer's strike? I don't get that part. I feel it's like when people mention reshoots, they think it's like an easy line to say, "Oh, there was
Yeah,
reshoots." It's like, no, every movie goes to reshoots. I don't know who taught you that that was bad. The movie was already written, so the writer's strike doesn't really affect the written movie. The movie was already
not
written.
not only do I think the writer's strike didn't affect this movie, I think they wrote this movie during the writer's strike. You can't tell me that Ryan Reynolds wasn't writing this movie like and being like, "Oh no, no, we came up with it outside of the strike. We came up with it before. Don't
But what
worry."
I'm saying is, they were already filming. It got
Yeah,
paused filming during the writer's strike,
right, right, right. Well,
so it's
still,
not like, no. But you're not wrong either. But what I'm saying is, like, to say that it was something was going to be reshot.
yeah,
So they
yeah,
reshoot it. You're like, yeah,
well,
that's bad.
exactly.
So for a writer's strike, it's like, oh, did the writer's strike affect the writing of this movie? No, it was already written.
Exactly. You know, your greater point is also like uh, I think people reflexively try to blame larger
Something. Yeah.
problems on individual issues. And I think
Yeah.
this movie's issues are this movie's issues regardless of the strikes.
You're not wrong though. During the writer's strike, yeah, of course that man was working. What you talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
right? I'm not denying that at
Yeah.
all. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, they were working it before. If anything, that pause allowed them to polish a bunch of stuff. So the critique should be like, y'all had months extra to prepare, to clean up some stuff, to color grade, and they didn't do it. Avatar,
Mhm.
when they went through the COVID, their sound mixing got better. Their visuals got better. So by the time Way of Water came out, it looked beautiful. That's what their pause helped. The pause over here, I don't know. I can't really tell what it would have helped. But other than Hugh Jackman had to stay more, I think he had said they were saving the final scene when he's ripped for that. And then the writer's strike happened. So now he had to stay ripped for like an extra 5 months. Oh,
Man, poor
man.
guy
Some of the extra
until
stuff
he's
from the
90.
chat. Do you think the cameo bait movies, as we're getting into it right now, are tiring? I've always found them to be that way. I'm curious your point first.
Yeah, well, I think this maybe gets partly into my point with the cameos in that like we are really trying of scraping the bottom of the barrel with a lot of these now. And like I found specifically the inclusion of, again, spoilers, Channing Tatum's Gambit to be pretty entertaining. Channing Tatum is a very charismatic
I was about to
actor.
say, bro. I thought you were gonna say it was bad because I have not heard anyone say anything bad about it. Just that it was
Right.
so bad it was funny.
No, but like to get to the point where we're getting to Channing Tatum's Gambit, I think reflects a lack of options that we have, because who is he there with? Jennifer Garner's Elektra, who had one movie that nobody liked. Well,
She
and
had she had 1.5. Okay, she was in Daredevil.
I actually kind of like Daredevil. I mean, like, really the insult is to use Wesley Snipes here
It was
to to put him side by side with Elektra and a Gambit that never happened.
Nah, bro, I squealed, bro. That Blade one was dope. I have 2 conspiracy theories. They have not made the Blade movie because they needed this cameo. And 2, bro, I don't think there was ever a Gambit movie. I went back to see when they announced this man, and he is there when they announced Deadpool 1, I think, or it would have been like the lead up to 2. And the man's wearing the same shirt that he was wearing when he came out at Comic-Con this week. I am convinced that they were never going to make that movie. It was specific just for a Deadpool 3.
They planted that joke 10 years in advance.
That's how long they've been watering it. Look,
Yeah.
that accent was never going to work. They were never going to make that into a real Fox movie. I don't know. I thought it was hilarious because there is this through line, right? When you were talking about the deepness to it. I think people have been calling it a love letter to Fox. I wouldn't call it the massive love letter to Fox as much as it is remembering those stories.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's where, if you want to talk about cynical, this is where I felt the movie being cynical.
Yeah, but again, I'm saying if you decide to read it that way, how can it not be cynical? So I'm saying, like, I don't think that's the bit. I think the bit is that Feige was there since day one. Feige's first producing role was X-Men. There's that whole bit when he got his Hollywood Walk of Fame where they didn't think Wolverine was going to get the job. When Logan came in, they're like, bro, you're not getting this. That Feige, who we know now, was like a chauffeur who took him to the airport, went to go take him to a steak dinner and said, you know, buddy, things are going to be okay. To finish that full circle in that fourth wall breaking meta-ness, that they're now all under the same umbrella over here. When Feige had pitched, let's do the suits, and they said, nah, the higher-ups want it to be black. And now Feige's in charge, and he gets to make it this color. He now gets to work with Deadpool. He gets to work with Logan, Hugh Jackman, who he dropped off. To me, that's where the beauty of this story comes in. You have so many other characters who have not been touched upon. But I also can't see it as a love letter, because to me, a love letter is the final goodbye. And we're not done with these people. Charles is going to keep popping up. Charles just popped up, you know? We just got, since we're in full spoilers for other movies, for the Marvels, Beast. Not Junior. What's his name? Kelsey was playing Beast there. So it's like we're still going to get, I don't know if you're muted again, but we're still getting all of these little cameos and different spots in there. So I don't think it's like the final goodbye. It's more so Deadpool and Logan saying goodbye to what they knew.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like just the inclusion of the footage that they put over the credits specifically felt really hokey to me.
I was waiting for a joke.
I
was waiting for a joke.
There's no joke there. The
use
of the Green Day song, all the footages of actors who they didn't get for this movie, plus Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Like it's fair. It doesn't feel earned to make it into this kind of like sentimental farewell to all these characters who didn't show up in this movie for me personally. I do want to talk a little bit about, they could have. I do want to talk a little bit about the plot about this movie. Because we start out and Deadpool is living a normal life, and then he's pulled into the TVA from Loki, I guess, because they are erasing a timeline or his timeline or something like that. And then he, in order to fix it, he goes on a quest to find Logan and then gets sent into the void, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is structurally, I kind of feel like this movie has sort of the same plot as Quantumania, in that it's our heroes getting cast off into this other realm that they then basically just like explore to go find some characters and return from. And there's a big confrontation at the end, but like, and it's a lot of like, they go there and they come back. There's not a whole lot else happening.
Yeah. Are you asking me that's a problem that the MCU has? 100%. It's annoying. It's like, we'll have you in the real world for a little bit, but then we'll put you in the sandbox. It's annoying.
Yeah.
They've been doing that. I would argue even for the big ones. Infinity War. Oh, we're on the school bus over here. How about we go up into space? I know it's not space. You're back in the box. You're back in the volume. And we do. Yeah, you feel that a lot.
That inconsequential nature of it doesn't bother you.
But why is this the one where it bothers us and not the last 5?
Well, it bothers me for the last 5 too.
Right, but why do we act like this is the peak of being the worst? Like, I see people lying that this is worse
Oh,
than
yeah.
Quantumania. That's
Sure.
gonna age like milk, though.
Yeah, no,
That's where I'm saying
that's
that people
fair.
are lying about what they like about this movie. The color grading, the action, the way that the story progresses. No one's not arguing about those. And yes, flame on the people who are saying that's not what we go to these movies for. That's also not right. But for me, the parody comedic standpoint, which is the whole through line for Deadpool, I think has always been the forefront of it. And I think that's where this movie excels. That's
Yeah.
what's going to age well, because I went back to go see the first Deadpool, and the quippiness. I understand his voice can get a little annoying sometimes, but it's still there. Some of the
Right.
stuff has aged a little bit, but not that far off. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, this was definitely bigger in 2016 than it is today. I don't know. I think it works well. I think it's got a lot of jokes in here, like the Wesley one of him being the only
Yeah.
Blade.
What
That
were some
is
of
going to be
the
funny.
what were some of the jokes that worked best for you? Because Luna left a comment talking about how they treated the Chris Evans one. I did think
The
that
cameo?
was a funny bit. The sort of carpet pull of showing Chris Evans and then him being Johnny Storm.
I got something for you that I think you're really going to like, because I think you're going to find it really funny. This is actually something that's been out there for a while. I don't know if you know about this, but there's this idea that because we've been dealing with different superheroes, you can technically have anyone who's ever played anything. I'm going to send this to you on Twitter if you don't mind opening it up so that people can see it over here. I'm going to send you a Nostradamus. Someone, to me personally, it's like, who's the one who guessed the sun? Copernicus?
What? Who flew too close to the sun?
No. Who's the one who guessed the sun? The Catholic Church was like, you're wrong. And they threw that dude in jail. We're like, we don't go around the sun. The sun goes around
Oh,
us.
shoot.
Come on, History 101, bro.
Yeah. I'm not great with that
That
stuff.
guy.
Aristotle?
Well, this is our new guy. This is our new. I'm pretty sure it's Copernicus, bro. He's our new
Okay.
Copernicus. I sent it to you on Twitter. You know, some people are just ahead of it, and you're right. Maybe like Icarus, they fly too close to the sun, that we don't listen to the prophets that the Lord has bestowed upon us anymore. But as you open up this prophetic letter, this prophetic post that was sent upon us, I believe it's dated 2021.
I don't see it, man. I don't know if it didn't go through or.
Hold on. You'll be able to see that we were given the truth years ago. We just didn't want to see the light.
Oh, a real soups post.
A real soup certified.
All right, give me a second to
Yeah,
pull
boot
it
that
up
bad
on the
boy up
screen.
and let the people know what was said in Soups chapter 1, verse 2.
So the immortal Matt Ramos tweeted in December 2021, imagine a portals like where all the most nostalgic Marvel heroes are coming through, and then one portal opens and Chris Evans walks through and everyone thinks it's Cap, but he says 2 words, flame on. His clothes burn to reveal the F4 suit. Ryan Reynolds borrowed the bit.
They're going to give my man residuals.
They ought to. I mean, it is the Matt Ramos, idea of the pinnacle of these types of movies. It is a cameo fest.
So that's the one that I find interesting. People say this movie's written by Reddit. It's disgusting. Here's the one part that I do like, and it's the one part written by Reddit, bro. Like, it still worked, and that's what I'm saying. You can get something where before you associate it with the thing you don't like, you'll praise it. And I'm saying the reverse is happening, where people are associating things that they don't like in the movie, the things that Reddit didn't say. But if you could associate it with Reddit, you could like it a little less. I thought the flame on worked.
That one is a clever bit, and it plays on,
Soups wrote it.
Sure, fine, he wrote it, but it is a like reversal of their expectations. That's like a solid comedic premise. A lot of it is just like references to Deadline articles, like that's the stuff that I think the written
what is
by
this Deadline
Reddit
article?
crowd.
I think people know Gambit. They know Channing Tatum. They know he never got the role.
Forget the Gambit stuff. So much of it is just like talking about Fox and
Fox
Ryan Reynolds.
dead,
Sure, but like there's a lot of it. There's the whole bit where Ryan Reynolds like headbutts the camera and says "fuck you" to Fox.
I wish I was sitting next to you when he did that. It's so random. It's so dumb. That's the
so
scene
dumb.
that my second audience laughed at so hard. I'm like, are you guys 5? Because he says something really funny. We haven't even talked about McFadyen. I thought he was excellent in the movie, bro. I will not be taking any criticisms from McFadyen. Okay, was he written horrendously? That is yes. That is exactly why I'm saying his performance is that much better. He was having so much fun in that, dude. And there were so many good jokes that they had back and forth. And yeah, a lot of people are like, I don't know what you're saying. Go hit the camera. I'll say I'm going to Disney World. Yeah, I'm not like, yeah, that's way over the top, bro.
Yeah,
That's like you were giving some medicine with some sugar, forgot to put the medicine. That's pure high fructose corn syrup.
Exactly.
But that's not all the movie. There's a lot of really good quips. I know one that you like, bro. Friends don't let friends walk out of the house dressed up like the Chargers or the Rams. What did he say? That was a good bit.
That was a pretty good bit. Honestly, like to me, my favorite bit in the movie, which kind of feels like it is the most accurate criticism of this movie, is when Nice Pool turns to the camera and says, "The proposal." That's what a lot of this movie just feels like to me.
Like when he says, "But boy, is that what you think I do?"
Yeah.
He killed that one though. Did that one go over well in the audience? It sounds like you had a good audience, but like we had some.
I just don't like the audiences that clap in the middle of the movie, but they were enjoying it.
Yeah, some audiences do go a little bit, but I just wanted people to get some of the jokes on my second audience. They did not. My first audience, full of critics, they got a good amount of them.
Mhm.
But I think it would have been the keep my country's name out your mouth. That one got nothing the second time around for me.
Mhm.
I know Oscars fans, no Will Smith fans in the crowd. I'm trying to think of some of the other jokes will come back into mind over here, but talk about Matthew McFadyen because again, this is him coming off of his Succession win and his
Mhm.
Succession win, and now he's over here as some rogue TVA agent. Obviously,
Yeah, I mean,
just the
it's the classic
they
superhero
say
movie
MacGuffin.
move. Yeah, it's the classic superhero movie move of grabbing a like British theater actor to
We,
lend gravitas to your villainous character.
bro, that was good. We have another British villain.
Yeah, there's more than one in this movie too because Emma
No, but
Corrin,
that too. But every movie
they're
has had a
really
British
good.
villain. And Screen, I'm blinking at who the second one was, and then this one too.
Yeah.
So
I don't
dumb.
know. I'm happy to see McFadyen get his check and also not get stuck in a role that I imagine is going to be in the next 7 Marvel movies.
Yeah, that it's good that it's like an in and out role for him. He can come
Yeah,
in, have some fun with him.
he gets
I
to have
thought
a
the way,
bigger nervous breakdown than Tom did on the average episode of Succession.
and he gets to have his accent. I thought he
Yeah.
worked really well off his accent because you could tell when it allows him to ad lib. And there
Mhm,
was one joke that he said, the BT dubs. He's like, my daughters say that all the time. So we'd
mhm.
see Ryan do multiple takes, and you'll see one bit that he does, and you're like, all right, I'm ready for it. And then he'll switch it up again. He's like, he's always coming up with new things to get the side characters. So he decided to try one, and that's when he says BT dubs, and he sells it. And I'm like, damn, bro, you were really comfortable. I thought he was in a pocket with it. I liked it.
Mhm. Uh, any other characters that you liked aside from? I mean, we haven't really talked much about Hugh Jackman, who is the other half of Deadpool and Wolverine.
His writing was better. The context of it seems very goofy with everything that's happening. The writing of this being a Wolverine who failed his timeline,
Mhm.
knowing that we want him back in this suit, just put him in the suit. That they took a little bit of time to be like, yeah, Cyclops, Gene, they kept telling him to always wear it and he never did. And now that they're gone, he keeps it on forever. You first meet him at the bar and the bartender's making fun of him. You don't think anything of it until the second rewatch. When he comes up to him and he goes, "You're Wolverine." He goes, "Of course I'm Wolverine. Everyone knows I'm Wolverine. I'm the Wolverine who failed everything." It's not as strong as it should be. But I thought that there was something there if they would have edited the movie a little bit better, if it truly was split between the two of them. You don't see him until 30 minutes in. Hugh Jackman's putting in the work. That
Mhm.
Honda Odyssey scene right before they fight, you were the way he's just trembling. He's like, I wish you didn't exist. And he even blames it on the audience. The biggest joke is that you won't shut up and you can't even die, but that's on us. What a clever way in a big dramatic speech to be like, we're the reason why he can't die. I thought he had a lot of good moments. The ending with Emma Corrin, where he has to like decide, all these tombs, all these things that I've left in the midst of me being, this drunk. Am I am I really the right superhero? And I thought that scene with X-23 when they were able to bring her back, very goofy the way they bring her back as well, because she's just like lurking. Like, who's going to help us? And she goes, me. I've been waiting right there in the corner.
Right, and that's another moment where it feels like the bottom barrel of getting these cameos, because it's like
She's not bottom barrel, bro.
But they present it like it's this huge moment. Who could possibly walk through that door? It's an actress you haven't seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah. I don't get why she was there. I don't get how she survives at the end. It is definitely goofy, for sure. But the scene with them at the campfire, where she was like, you were always the wrong guy. I'm like, damn, you guys have some good lines here. I wish that you were able to build up to them a lot better so that you can understand the same way that Deadpool's going, like, I want to be an Avenger because I need it. No, you don't become an Avenger unless they need you. It's the same thing over here. He's waiting to be the perfect choice, the right guy. And it's like, no, you were always you were the wrong guy, but you were there at the right time. And that was the whole bit for what they were going for Wolverine. I thought he did okay with it. You got to have that last shirt rip off, peel. My one critique that I would have with him, besides how rushed they wrote a lot of his stuff, when he puts the mask on, it was dope. It was cool.
Looked really cool.
But his eyes, I know why they don't give him the Batman now. He looked like he was blind. There was one moment when they're at the bottom and he's like, I'm going to go save him. He goes, you're right. Please go do that thing. That's a suicide mission. And I don't know who he was looking at, bro.
Maybe that should have been another joke in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's not like they don't have blind jokes in the movie, bro.
Right?
They have plenty of blind jokes in the movie.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah. No, I mean the costume worked for me. Even though I don't have like that, really strong nostalgia for the yellow suit, it is like a pretty badass look. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it does happen in the moment immediately before the kind of like old boy homage scene,
which was cool, but it was a lot.
I didn't love. Yeah, I kind of felt like it's the plasticity of the digital effects kind of they're most like rubbery here.
You preferred the Guardians one from 3 that just homaged old boy too. They're all homaging the same homages too, which is also where you're getting a little.
I mean,
yeah. This was definitely the most ADHD one because it allows you to like see 3 things at once, and that's why it doesn't work. It's like that short film that like zooms out on the house and you see everyone doing things. It's like, it's supposed to be too much at once.
And especially, I feel like Deadpool's costume wasn't that distinct from the other Deadpools in that moment. So sometimes you're a little bit confused as to which is our Deadpool.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, again, those would be the ones where it's like, I like the choreography what you guys are setting up, but you're not shooting it well enough for it to stand out. When we were talking about the cameo cave scene, when they finally all get together and they're going to go attack Cassandra, who's like running the void, which again, she's running the void. Haven't we been in the void during Loki? No one mentioned it, whatever.
Right.
They go in there and their entrance in is so like, like when the photographer tells you, no, you stand over. None of that happened here.
Yeah. And I'm assuming when you were talking about Deadpool last week that this is the moment that you were talking about where they just are leaving room for the audience to applaud, because watching that on Disney Plus a year from now is going to be really, really elongated.
The cave scene when they all come in and it goes Electra, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, are we gonna do this for all 3? And then they do it for all 3, and I'm like, yo, if you don't have any applause in your audience, it is bad. It is Bazinga levels bad. You are sitting there waiting for a laugh track that is not happening. And I wish they would have tightened them up, or at least make a joke on something that you're leaving out there to be made fun of. I did think that was a little rough. The Blade one worked for me because of the history that they have together. Again, like I said, with them having a lot of turmoil when Blade Trinity was looking to split between him and what's her name, who was also in that JT Justin Timberlake.
Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel.
That's your girl.
So that's what I know. That's what I was saying. I forget her name.
What did you think about? We got a live stream comment from Luna. Why they did the whole Wesley saying he's the only Blade ever. I've seen a bunch of people who are like, "Oh, what an insult to Mahershala! How dare they?"
So what did I tell you? A lot of people are coming in saying, "Oh, this is cynical." I'm like, we're misreading jokes, and that was one of the most misread jokes. Do you know people don't even notice that Deadpool looks at the camera?
Yeah, yeah. I've seen
Like
it a
someone
lot.
had said that, and they're like, "No, he doesn't." And I went, "Whoa, we're actually missing segments of the movie." I've been dealing with this since we started YouTube, where I'll say something happens, they're like, "I saw something completely different on screen." What am I supposed to do? Pull up a cam? Like, I know everyone does that nowadays, but it's like there literally is a shot in that scene
Yeah.
where he's explaining something on the ride over, and what's his name gets up, Wesley, to do the bazooka bit, cuts off Deadpool, and Deadpool literally dog walks the audience and says, "Never mind what I'm saying, tilt up to Wesley." Wesley shoots, he says his line, "But I'm the one and only Blade." Then it tilts down to Deadpool, who stares at the camera because he knows that the joke is that he's right around the corner.
Right.
Zach, is it because he said, "All right, audience, tilt up"? Okay, thank you, Deadpool. But Deadpool never said tilt down. Like, what caused y'all to not follow the scene through? Yeah, it's a goofy joke. I would love for it to be that they're just never going to get the Mahershala one out, because they've also disrespected Mahershala. It has ruined a lot of his projects. He has been waiting for that damn script. All for Feige to say this weekend that he read half of the new one.
I didn't
You
hear
and I know
that.
the business.
That's rough.
They got to finish writing it then. They got to
Yeah.
all approve it, and then they got to get everything set before they start filming. That's a lot of time. The joke works because I guess they want to make fun of the fact that once you rewatch it, you'll be able to zoom in on Deadpool's face on Disney Plus and be like, he knew about it. He can see the future. Sure.
And I think there's a bit of a Kuleshov effect happening too at that moment, where even the people who have seen it are interpreting it the way that they want to, where it's like, I've seen some people interpret the look into camera as like Ryan Reynolds sort of like confirming that he's the only Blade, like as a diss to Mahershala Ali. And I think it's much more like what you're saying, where it's almost like him looking to camera like, oh, he doesn't know yet. Like there's so many ways to interpret that, but ultimately it's a joke. It's just a funny bit, because he's explicitly not about to be the only Blade.
Exactly. Thank you. It's not anything else. He literally, his look is like this and then down. Right. You know that Amazon tech that wants to like observe all of our emotions and stuff so it knows what we are? I think we all need that, because some of us really cannot understand other people. I finally saw that Corey O'Malley thing, or whatever your boy's
Connor
name
O'Malley,
is.
Corey.
Connor O'Malley's bit about they're pulling so much data on us and my son's going to have the most data. I'm so jealous of him. You know what, Kyle?
Connor O'Malley. Yeah.
Connor, you were right, bro. Some people really cannot read the stuff that's on screen. Yeah. Look, I'm so excited for the Mahershala one. I think if anything, them making this a true rated R movie has me a little bit more relieved for their upcoming Punisher and their upcoming what did we just say? Blade, because then it shows me, okay, language usually is the biggest thing. Y'all allowed the blood. Perfect. As long as you guys keep it as violent as possible, we're good to go. The only thing I would say is a lot of sexual innuendos and jokes, but I don't see them going the Netflix miniseries.
Yeah, no. And isn't that funny though? Like that they can go violent and grimy, and they can rip Chris Evans's skin off, but like, don't you dare show a bit of sexuality beyond a quick lewd joke.
Bro, my favorite one is you cannot show cocaine. They showed it in the last two. That man was coming out like LeBron James, going like that. In this one, they could not show it. They could talk about it, but they can't do anything with it. So they over talk about the lines of coke. To me, the reason why I think it's such a good parody is because they know they're not allowed to show drugs, but watch Hugh Jackman drink an entire bottle instead of getting punched out so that he can knock out. That's funny to me. It's playing with what our idiotic MPA rating thinks is okay to say or not. He does a lot of jokes as well where he's trying to, I don't want to call it get canceled, but he's playing in that realm. And you and I know this, that there are trigger words that we can no longer use, like what I just used right now, which is the phrase trigger, without people already assuming things above that. He's playing in this playground of saying, I'm going to get canceled by the woke mob. And when Wesley says the R word and he goes, I'm already in the void. I'm not trying to get canceled again. And you have to ignore so many other jokes to be triggered by those two. Like just saying the woke mob gets someone to go, so that's where you side? As if like they're a member of the woke mob. Like, what are you getting mad at? He is making fun of that context. And I've heard people say like that specifically makes him a very like, I don't know.
There is this sort of like line about this film that it is one of like kind of conservative coded, and like, I mean, sure, if a couple of those, if you want to say those jokes are, but like,
I say this,
so much of the movie is not. I don't know.
Thank you. I say this liberally. That is the stupidest thing to put on this movie, that it is conservative. It plays on so many spectrums that you are literally only focusing on the lines that, like you just said, that you want to add context and be mad about.
Yeah.
He
It's a,
literally introduces Captain America as the guy that all the white boys can put all of their problems to. How is that not deeper than I might get canceled by the woke mob? You have to ignore that joke when he goes to the X Mansion and he goes, so many white guys here on the statues. I forgot to bring my rape whistle. That has way more context to it than like, I'm going to get canceled. He plays the line so beautifully that it does become a Rorschach for you to get mad at it if you want to, but you'd have to ignore everything else that's in there. And I think that's pretty clever because I know how that goes online a lot. You're just going to focus on the things that'll prove your point more than the other stuff.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just think I feel like a lot of that stuff, you know, it has this sort of appeal to a certain sense of humor, and maybe people are like associating who they anticipate the audience is with what they think
Can't do that.
the leanings of the movie are. And
Thank you.
I think you could be disappointed with humor without like connecting it with greater evils in
Thank
the world.
you. It's too big. That's too big of a leap to make nowadays. There was even like what you had mentioned earlier about the
Yeah.
work that might have to be put into this movie for you to understand either the news, the pop
Yeah.
culture and stuff.
Can,
I feel
can
like
I
a lot of fans of
mention
this
that,
movie
like,
do that to the indie movies that we watch.
in what sense?
We watch so many easily In a Violent Nature, a horror movie that stood out to you. TV Glow, a horror movie that stood out to me. I always hear, if you need to explain the movie, then it maybe wasn't a good movie. No, I don't think that's right because I hear that same dismay for those movies and not encroaching on them for the same reason that someone may have not read that comic issue or something.
Mhm.
I think it takes just a little bit of elbow grease, and I'm not even trying to equate them in the sense that one may be the same quality as the other, but just
Yeah.
the entry level. We many times put that barrier in front of us. Oh, that's for that fan base. Oh, that's for these pretentious film nerds over here. And I think that's why we get a lot of reviews of people who are overpraising it because these movies need to stay in the multiplex. And
Right.
people who hate it because they think it's getting rid of whatever indie movie that's out this week that they're not watching.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's the thing is I think the general the general momentum of this movie is perceptible to any kind of audience. It's just
Mhm.
that there are like moments all along the way that I catch on. Like what's the name of the purple cloud from Loki?
Oh, the
That
Purple Cloud from Loki season 1, episode 5.
yeah, like he mentions from Loki season 1 episode 5. I didn't
That's
realize it was a
funny.
purple cloud.
Bro,
So,
that's so funny.
but it's
I
also
that joke is
like
great.
but in not explaining kind of what's going on and relying on your knowledge of something that you maybe haven't seen. In my case, I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Like you kind of you do leave chunks of the audience behind. That brings me back to where
Why?
what the fuck is this purple cloud? Where did it come
What
from?
so when they land there, a guy pops out who looks just like Wolverine with bigger claws. Did you question Sabretooth?
Well, not. I mean, like they
Right?
say it's Wolverine's brother. They explained that, but they don't do a good job of explaining so much of this movie. I had a problem
They
with a
do.
lot
They
of this
say it's the
movie.
purple thing that comes and eats people and rents his due. It's going to eat you. You either are food for that or you're not. I guess I'm putting it from like, I don't want to see the Loki episode again. I got it. It's the thing that eats things up. It's a ghastly that's out there. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not saying I need to see it or whatever, but I think it's moments like that that do ultimately make the movie feel more insular than a lot of
Yeah.
films that Marvel films in the past.
Oh, I won't deny. Explaining that and all aspects of it is what puts it in the echelon of being an incredible, a
Yeah.
masterpiece of a superhero movie. I think it knows it's not aiming for that. It's this like blender of all the other things that were there. You get the gist. This is what it does. Don't even worry about it. It's just going to come in and sweep things up. It's again, it's just like a montage of all the other stuff that we've seen. And I don't think that's bad for this movie. When
Mhm.
other movies do it, I'm like, yeah, y'all don't have that fourth breaking element to be able to bring this stuff in. Here it's like, y'all don't need to waste time on some jokes, much less explaining what this dragon thing is. My bigger issue with it was that it did not kill all of the variants at the end.
I mean, I guess right. Like
They just jump in the portal. There's that big scene, right? I'll race you to it, and they jump to the portal right when the thing
Yeah.
is coming. Alina tries to hit me. She's like, "That's Schrodinger's cat." I'm like, "If you don't shut up right now, I'm not listening to the Schrodinger's cat thing in my MCU movies either. Absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
that's
not."
the
Although it
thing
just
though with
makes sense
these
now with
MCU
her.
movies, like no
Oh, you could have. I didn't hear that last part.
need them to.
I just heard need them to.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
I was saying that's the thing about these MCU movies. Nobody really stays dead unless they need them to.
I guess that, right? Like, what? I can't be surprised anymore. I feel like that one's on us now.
In what sense?
If I were to go into a comedy film from Adam Sandler and got annoyed that he did a voice,
Mhm.
I'd be like the idiot at the new Medea screening going, "Really? Again?" Like, we know what we're gonna
True,
get from them.
true, but I do think like this maybe goes back to the idea of like what is the purpose of criticism, and if we're only going to hear criticism from the people who are like already on board and loving it, then like we're not
Right,
really
but
getting the full spectrum of opinions.
yeah, I like this talk right here because to me, I agree with you 100%. But is that the criticism that this needs? It would be like a vegetarian coming in for the hot dog spot going, "I don't know, it's a lot of beef here." It's like, oh, like, can we get someone who's going to review the beef hot dogs though? Like
Well,
once we get to James Gunn,
there are plenty of people who review the beef hot dogs, right? Like it's got an 81% in Rotten Tomatoes, so there's
yeah,
lots of critics who do engage with the material. I don't know.
that's the other
I
thing too, because I think someone in the chat said that it's getting rated the worst. Where?
Yeah,
Right? Like
I
we're
don't know
almost
why
like what you were saying
people.
about different narratives. I feel like we do have different narratives. No, this is actually that's one of the reasons why you should be able to critique it. It's got its love. This is no underdog.
Mhm.
It's got love critic wise.
It's
It's got
the
love
highest
letterbox.
grossing Deadpool movie of the 3. It's got a
Mhm.
3.7 average on Letterboxd, which is pretty solid, especially
Incredible.
for the current
That's
era
very
of
high.
the MCU.
It's very high. So I don't get where that narrative comes from that it's getting
Yeah.
bashed, other than the circles that we're in, and it's never even really in person, if we're being honest, right? These
Yeah,
online
yeah.
circles, I think, is where we get a little
It is a little bit of a film Twitter punching bag, but like film Twitter's not
sure.
real. Like
It's
Challengers is
not
not the
real.
highest grossing movie in America.
I like every week when someone finds out that Twitter that's what I mean. I guess I'm at that point. I'm finding it funny in the real world now. What? Does film Twitter got this wrong? I'm like, bro, it's 2024. How are you like that's what you're worried about? So I go back to the criticism, and it's not that it should be missed from criticism, but more so that people not dying in this franchise is not what it's about, right? Like that, we know that that's the world that they're living in with variants. It should be more
Mhm.
so: are the jokes, are they delivering? Is the heart delivering? Is the
Yeah.
message of the story there?
Josh said he was looking at the Deadpool and Wolverine score on Metacritic, which is 56, which is a little low, but I don't know. I still it's still mixed to me, and that doesn't mean mixed is different from like a pan to me.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
would
this is
also
Thor:
argue
Love and
that
Thunder
no one
levels or
looks at the
anything.
Metacritic. It's not used for marketing. Rotten Tomatoes is. IMDb is brought up. Letterbox is brought up,
Yeah,
and our
I like
conversations
Metacritic.
on Twitter's. Metacritic is good too, but I think that's the reason why people always have to use it, right? Rotten
Yeah,
Tomatoes gets mentioned and people have to bring up Metacritic. So because it's always getting that marketing, I don't think it's gotten to the level of it being the dagger in the heart.
right.
People are resonating with this movie to a degree where they just want to go in and feel like they're not being pitched whatever the next thing is, but an enjoyable in-out moment in the theater. And I think that's what this suffices. This reminds me again of the scary movies from earlier on where I could just go in and see a comedy that kind of gets how I feel about these movies. I think the worst thing that it could have done was to overinflate what Marvel's been doing. And instead it belittles it. And some people have a problem with that part, but I'm like, no, you would have a problem if it pretended like Nice Pool. I think everything's been great since Endgame. I think it works that it's willing to say and put it on the record. We know we haven't been the same since then, and we want to fix it. You're entering at a low point in the MCU is a banger of a line. I think that's hilarious. What they're going to do with it, we'll see. Because as we pivot out of the discussion that we're having here, we are entering the realm of what this next phase is going to be, and an announcement that to me is so stupid that I hate that it's actually going to work.
Should we pivot to the news or take a couple questions first?
Let's take a couple questions for Deadpool if there's anything extra. I did want to wrap up for the Gambit bit that I understand that your perspective of like, but we never really got to see him and everything. That's what makes that joke of like the people that we didn't get to save or had the opportunity to. It's like I was born in the void. The people who know us or never got to meet us. That is so freaking funny, dude. It's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, some of his writing is funny. It's just like silly that we're even at. It's silly that we're even at a point where this is a thing in a major blockbuster.
You know what would have made the movie good?
That's why this movie isn't for me. That's why this movie is for MCU fans.
The idea of it being in the void and it being a film that treats all these superheroes like toys, like an actual Toy Story type movie where they're all discarded and not wanted anymore. You would need to have an insane budget to bring the other characters that would be like, because these are like Sid's toys. This is the
rejects pile,
the reject spot. Thank you.
Yeah.
And in that, I think that there's some beauty in there of like who got to play, who didn't get to get played with. You know, we all know Cap because he's bigger than his role as the Human Torch. Yeah, we didn't have Daredevil because no one bringing Ben Affleck to not memorize his lines, right? Because you're saying like, why Elektra? Well, buddy, I don't think it's gonna be Daredevil. So she gets to come in, gets to make the joke about their divorce, also about him being dead. It's okay, don't worry about it. And then patching up the stuff that he had with Wesley Snipes on Blade. I think it's able to get into the realm of who are the characters who used to play old ones. Who are the characters that we haven't seen since? Who are the characters we never got to see? And then on top of that, one person we haven't talked about is Cassandra Nova. I thought she was decent in the role. I thought her power was the best effect with the fingers. That's what I was trying to allude without spoiling it to you guys, because it turns out that that's like not out there at all.
I think Emma uses they them pronouns, by the way.
They them. Sorry. I was talking more so for the character Cassandra, because she is the twin of Magneto, or not Magneto, of
Professor X.
Charles got taken out, and I thought that whole storyline was funny. Fox never decided to cast or do anything with Cassandra. The MCU hasn't. Like nobody was able to. That casting then became another form of reject casting. No one wants to deal with this being here. That they got aborted from the womb, they said. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's like an element of it that I find like, again, another form of meta casting with who they're bringing in. Different forms of characters we never got to see. And then even Emma coming in. They could have done a lot more with Emma's character, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just didn't really feel like a connection to this character or like an investment in the character, and I thought the performance was pretty dynamic, but it just was a little bit like, so what's the point here?
You're
like,
way too powerful to be here.
Yeah, and it does another thing that I hate in these movies where you have this ultra powerful villain, and then like they are just conveniently not powerful at the right moment, or they're conveniently have mercy at the right moment.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. But
it's a comedy, and it did make me laugh a little bit. I just ultimately had a lot of, like kind of structural problems, and that made me feel a little bit like bored in the theater with it. Yeah. So are you sticking with your 3.5 that you gave on last week's show?
Yeah, it was pretty solid. I think the jokes still live up for what they're supposed to. I feel like we're in that realm where anything that was a little too out of pocket visually gets fixed before Disney Plus now. And I will say it's just hilarious going on my Disney Plus account and playing Deadpool 1 and 2. It makes absolutely no sense, but that's where we're at.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more negative on you. I think I'm at like a 2-star on the movie, to be honest. But, yeah, I don't know.
How would you rank it compared to everything else we've had?
Talking specifically Deadpool or summer entertainment? What are we
specifically the last leg of the MCU?
I had a better time with it than I did with I think Quantum Mania.
So better than Quantum. I'll pitch them to you. Eternals.
Yeah. I do not like Eternals. So I'd probably go Deadpool. Yeah, I'll go above Eternals.
Thor Love and Thunder.
Above for Thor Love and Thunder for sure.
Black Widow.
I don't really even remember Black Widow. I think I liked it more at the time, but I couldn't tell you 3 things about that movie.
The Marvels.
Only because I like Kamala Khan, Aman
So
Vellani in the role.
so you
But
got Marvel's above.
sure, but I think that's going to make every Marvel fan throw out my opinion.
I almost had you midway. After that, I think it's a bunch of movies that you would put above. Marvel's Wakanda Forever. I don't believe it's stopping for you.
Yeah, no.
Maybe.
No, I like Wakanda Forever more.
Shang-Chi,
Yeah, I like them a little bit more.
Deadpool, and Wolverine is
And
where I would have it right here. What I have above it is Multiverse of Madness,
same.
which I know you do.
Mhm.
I have No Way Home above it, and Guardians Volume 3 to me has been the best since Endgame.
Yeah, I agree on Guardians. I don't know where No Way Home ranks, to be honest.
See, so you don't hate it. You think it's mid. We've upgraded you from hate to mid.
Yeah.
And my praise went back down to mid too. Deadpool, the best mid movie to come out this year to
All right.
half a billy. How fast do you think it's getting to half a billy or to a billy?
It did what, 200 opening weekend?
Just here.
Yeah, just
I
here.
think it made
So,
like 450.
so it might be there right now. You buy a ticket on your phone on A-List, you
have
might
to.
get it there yourself.
Let's see. Life is So Rich says 3 weeks. I say that too for a billy. Not the half.
I thought you said half a billy. For a billy,
I did
3
that in
weeks
there.
sounds reasonable. Yeah.
What we were looking back at 2015. Do you remember when Jurassic Park broke the record? And then Fast
Yeah.
and Furious broke the record, and then Star Wars. What a crazy year!
What a
dude.
summer.
What a summer! I think we're gonna be back to that next year, 10 years since, and we have so many blockbusters coming out. But any other last minute thoughts on Deadpool, on Ladypool, on Dogpool? You didn't even talk about Dogpool.
Dogpool was so random. That is part of my like whole issue with this
I'm
movie. It's just
surprised.
unmotivated and out of nowhere. I'm also not like an ugly cute dog person. I like cute dogs.
You're a hater of ugly dogs?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god.
I discriminate against bad looking dogs, not people.
You know, before he found Penny, right? There was a dog named Nickel, and he was like, "Nah, we're not taking Nickel."
No. Nickel can go to the pound.
The penny privilege, pretty penny privilege.
Yeah. What, you adopting Dogpool?
I'm not even looking at Dogpool. I'm going the other way. It had two bits. Him getting licked by the dog, atrocious. It gets me every time, and I heard that's actually when they had to split screen Hugh because he was cracking up. They did that the Fincher, divide it right down the middle and just add a different profile for Hugh because he was laughing too hard. But that was when I told you that they overdo the time. Every time Dogpool does a slow-mo walk, that's what I was trying to allude without any spoilers of like they really were banking in on the dog that they let him just take the full time in slow-mo just to reach him. But yeah, I think that's pretty much Peter Pool, I guess. Last thing to mention.
I mean, I like Rob Delaney, but like maybe I just like forgot what happened in the past Deadpool movies. But when did Peter become like such a big thing?
It was I think he tested well after the fact. There's a task force testing thing. Shut up. Yeah, so they weren't crazy for Peter Pool.
How would you rate each character from the movie? Deadpool, excellent, very good, fair, or poor?
There you go. That's what it was. TJ Miller got a poor, and so did the rest of them.
You'd put Matthew McFadyen excellent, right?
Oh, Matthew, if there was one above that, I'd put that. Yeah, he was incredible. You know who didn't make it back from the second one? Zazie.
Yeah,
her power is being lucky and nothing.
Lucky enough to avoid this movie.
I guess so. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for Deadpool. Any other thoughts, let us know down below. This movie will be making so much money throughout for sure. Oh, Pyro. They brought him back from the X-Men movies.
Cool. And of all the people to bring back from X-Men, it just feels like there's a list of like at least 15 people from X-Men.
They couldn't afford them.
Apparently, they spent all that money on Chris Evans.
Oh, Henry Cavill. And we'll call it with this.
That was fun. I
cool.
I'm a little bit face blind with Henry Cavill, so it took me a second to get there.
Really? Yeah. See, to me, it was the traps. The moment I saw the traps, I was like, "Those are Henry Cavill." There's a bit in it that's funny, right? You get the fan casting like they were able to with Multiverse of Madness.
John Krasinski,
right? You get him really quick, and then you jump to the Fantastic Four, which we'll get into in a bit. I like the idea of them having all these rules, right? Because you were talking about like, oh, but when they die, yeah, but we know like that's just not a thing that happens in here.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like close. That's part of the movie magic and superhero. I know some people don't want to embrace that, but it is. The casting of Henry Cavill means that there is a variant of Logan that isn't Hugh Grant.
Hugh
In
Jackman.
that surprise,
I hope
dude,
there's a variant.
I've been saying Grant so many times, bro. These Hughes over Jackman. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the funniest way in a movie that says this is the guy you need. He is unreplaceable. They had a word called an anchor B, which we're just completely detracting because we just showed you that we can put Henry Cavill in there. Did it work? No one is even bringing up. I have seen reviews fully go, and it's Wolverine, and it will always be Hugh Jackman. You're praising a movie that just to your face while you were having fun said we can make it be Henry Cavill whenever the hell we wanted to. They psyoped MCU fans into not realizing they just recast Logan right in front of you. And I think that's
We're
also
getting Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
Henry.
right. In doing Henry Cavill, you have already said you can swap out for a Logan whenever you want.
Going by MCU rules, this is enough to bring him back in a movie and set it to a sad Green Day song 10 years from now.
That's all you need. There's only one I'm missing. And I did see, I was working on an edit. You saw how he does the arms? It's exactly how he does it for Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what he was practicing that day on there. Tom Cruise as,
Yeah. Is it Iron Man or is it like a variant of Iron Man?
Iron Man, baby.
That's the rumor, right?
That's the rumor. That's been the bit. That's the one that needs to happen. They need to shell out whatever he needs, just like they did for the Wachowskis. Bag that bad boy up, drop it off at his house. That's the one we need. I'm waiting for that one. But until then, we got to talk about the real Iron Man now deciding to take another role. Zach?
I guess so.
I'll let you take it away. I'm curious from your perspective. Just the cinephile, film aficionado that you are.
Yeah.
This harkens back to the Shakespeare days, of course.
Obviously, in the old theater, actors used to play several roles, and you still see that in Broadway shows where actors will sometimes double dip on a part. No, as we alluded to, Robert Downey Jr., who is perhaps the most iconic performer in the MCU, given the way that he elevated Iron Man and helped kick off all these movies. After, a few years outside of the clutches of Disney, he decided he could use a little more zeros in his bank account, and he is back. He has been confirmed to play Dr. Doom, the Fantastic Four villain, I believe, who will appear in both Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War. Those films will be directed, as we alluded to on last week's Intercut podcast, by the Russo brothers, who are also returning to the MCU. It is the Jack Donaghy strategy of how to fix your failing company. Try to make it 2006 again by magic. It's a risky strategy. Let's see how it pays off for them. I feel like the initial response to bringing Robert Downey Jr. back has been mixed, to say the least. Art, does it make you more excited for some Avengers movies?
No. I thought it was one of the most incredible announcements that they've done. And I hate it. It's going to be so effective. I'm not looking forward to the movie. I'm looking forward to the movie. I am so conflicted with this because I had an hour of not knowing who it was. Alina had told me. She's like, you won't believe who they cast. She knows I've been waiting. She knows I've been waiting for Dr. Doom to be cast in this place. She knows I think that's one of the greatest supervillains out there. There's a guy who wears a mask in the Star Wars universe. You know where he got his from? Dr. Doom.
Okay.
One of the greatest rappers, rest in peace, MF Doom.
Shouts.
And they announced this after knowing that they can't do Kang anymore, which I don't know about you. I don't know how you felt, obviously, with the whole Jonathan Majors of it all, having invested some times, even though they're your least favorite of the MCU with Quantumania. I don't know if you feel like me that I still want to see the ending to something I invested a little bit in.
Yeah, I mean,
Directors who I liked were going to be involved. I want to finish that storyline, like leak it, do something, give me a comic book. I want to know.
They recast the Hulk once upon a time. They recast Rhodey once upon a time. I don't feel like it's that crazy to go and recast Kang, especially considering that so much of what was going on seemed to have been leading up to. I mean, it will feel like a cop out if there's like absolutely no resolution to all the Kang stuff. When you tease that.
Doesn't it feel like that? This feels like a pivot because I want to make sure we discuss that before we talk about why did this happen, right? Because even with Deadpool and Wolverine, it had been since 2017 for a Deadpool movie. Why was it so long? It's because, well, Hugh Jackman retired, and what was the next purpose going to be until Hugh Jackman decided, yo, you own all of Deadpool. I'm on no contract. Screw it. Let's do it. They don't need to bring this man back. They don't need to bring the Russos back. You need to dangle the craziest thing over them and have had like an audible that needed to be called for this move to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, I actually don't know if this will be bad. In fact, you know, we talked about this with the Russos last week, that like, while we really have not liked any of the movies that the Russos have made themselves directed
outside. Yeah.
The MCU, they are at their best in the MCU. So perhaps this is the best place for them to be making movies. Not everybody has to be, you know, style work.
I agree. Even Downey, no?
Downey even Downey, like I was really excited seeing him stretch himself in roles in Oppenheimer. Like a move.
Let's see. I want to make sure you're coming in. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah. I'm sometimes not sure if it's me. The chat says you were buffering, or if it's Kang, you know, trying to get into the other side in order to be able to.
It's Kevin Feige trying to take this whole podcast down.
I knew where we were going.
You know, I think it just reeks of desperation of, you know, somebody at the wheel and Kevin Feige who knows that things haven't been going well and just wants to put the wheel in the hands of somebody who can steady the flow, right? Can steady the ship, can get us back on course. And like,
and we said that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, like
we're surprised by it, but we know
decent movie, but like they're not gonna surprise us. They're not gonna do something completely unexpected the way that, you know, casting Robert Downey Jr. in the first place is
the first time was exactly. Yeah,
even hiring the Russos, who were primarily television directors, was an unexpected and pretty smart move. It just it feels like a return to norms. And I don't know if you can just sell us on more of the same. I mean, there's plenty of people who will definitely show up for, you know, more of the same feeling you got from Infinity War and Endgame, but it just is, of the many options available to them, it is one of the least inspiring things I think out there.
Do you think they were still going to do this before Kang got kicked out?
Oh, I mean, well, I think that there, regardless of the situation that Jonathan Majors got in, there was just a general lack of reception to this phase of the MCU. I don't know if people really have been excited by Kang, regardless of Jonathan Majors' involvement with the character. He's just not a character that inspired as much excitement as did those early Thanos. So I kind of feel like there's a chance this plan would have happened regardless. Maybe it would have happened a little further down the line. If it hadn't been for you know, real world situations complicating things.
But because they changed the name. Technically the Kang movie now is a different name.
Exactly.
Which they've done in the past. They've switched names for stuff. Like it was supposed to be a part 1, part 2 before Infinity and Endgame. But I don't know. I also wonder how much of the Kang storyline, like you were saying, it wasn't reading well. But did they also want it, right? Because the rollout to it, like you were saying, comparing it to a Thanos was like, nah, that Thanos one. Like even the first Avengers had nothing to do with Thanos at the forefront. Like in it, he was also just an after credits scene. He was also just hinted at a bunch of the movies leading up to it. They put my man in Quantum Mania. Like, why do I want to be introduced to the next big baddie in the worst movie? Don't worry, we got you. Season 2 of Loki on your Disney Plus account, right?
Yeah. No, and that speaks to the missteps that Marvel has made creatively. You know, they're not giving they never gave the Kang character
He
the
lost one
right
hand.
kind of platform to, you know, become a Thanos type figure.
Yeah. But then also with the variants, like you're saying creatively, can't you just switch it out? What was the story supposed to be with all
Right.
these variants of everything when you literally have it right there that you could just switch them out? Where it's like you said, we're seeing every week a new joke about, haha, look at this variant that's here. Okay. So then why can't it be something different?
Yeah.
You just play with our expectations on Johnny Storm. No one will have a problem because no one really knew Jonathan Majors like that to begin with.
Right.
I know, and
Except
on the
for us.
Quantumania set. For us, that's it. But like that, you really think that we're invested in his craft? That was
Right.
what they really tried pitching. And I'm like, no, you have a lot of actors that people don't like, right? I love Tom Hiddleston, and I do think he's a great actor. But no one's watching Tom Hiddleston outside of that.
Mhm.
Let's get back to this Robert Downey Jr. news. Isn't it insane that we're all talking about the bag that they must have given this man off of what? Doolittle? Off
Yeah, I
of
mean,
what? Sympathizer?
I don't think the sympathizer is paying like that.
He made movies outside that, regardless of how they pay him, they didn't bring in money showcasing that it isn't Robert Downey. It's Robert Downey in the MCU. Just like the Russos. They can't direct outside. It's them in the MCU. So my only worry here before I say what I think it is going to be, which is what we both agreed on, that it's going to be okay. Are they not doing a Star Wars thing where they got really scared? Got JJ. Oh no, that second one pivoted. Bring him back and fix it up. That people, like you're saying, are not going to be as surprised as the Russos when they were young and doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of bringing in the newbie, they're bringing in the old bees who are going to come in and maybe just do the same or even worse. We don't know what they're like at this stage. They were really good as whippersnappers, but now they can give us something really boring. Because who remembers Return of the, or what's the last one? Rise of the Jedi, whatever, the Skywalker.
Return of the Jedi?
Return of the J.J. Abrams is only remembered as, oh my gosh, it turns out
and
the guy's alive.
So that's a really great comparison to bring up, because does this phase of the MCU then kind of feel like what happened to Star Wars in that, like,
patch-up work?
You have competing storylines that bring your character, that make your characters feel almost like their motivations are in different places, and you don't get full arcs for them. You introduce characters like Harry Styles' Eternals character, and then they never show up again.
And not even Harry Styles. Remember that monster that
what's going on?
Still just chilling there, bro.
What's going on with them?
Well, it's okay because they don't need to answer that. It didn't play in China. I do think that he's going to do a fantastic job because it's Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
We are at the realm where, is it really the Russos that are bringing in that spice, or is it how they're able to formulate the project? Because they just got Sean Levy on here. No one went going, Sean Levy. But there is a lot of people who don't like Sean Levy. So for the Russos, do they get enough praise because of the movies that they've made under Marvel that even when it's something mid, people will be okay with it?
You know what I think it is with the Russos is that they have shown themselves to be really adept at managing a big ship, and maybe not quite so adept when managing a smaller vessel, right? Like when they have to take on more of the responsibilities themselves, the movies falter a bit. But when you have a team of writers constantly working on the script, and a whole bunch of VFX artists to oversee, and a DP who's going to do the whole shot list for you, and you just got to make sure everybody's showing up on time and everything's getting done, maybe that's just how they excel.
It could be. I see it first and foremost as them being able to bring back Robert Downey to the MCU.
They have that relationship.
That's what people want. They have that relationship. And it's interesting because for how long did we quote DiCaprio telling Timmy, don't take that. You are the star. You are not the suit. And that was the big thing, that we are not into superstars anymore. There are no A-listers. It's all about the IP and the property. Is this not the opposite? This is a good way for them to punch back and be like, it is a star. No matter where you have him, bringing him in like it's some sort of anthology, cast that can play different things. I have no worries in me that he's not going to do a great job. But in a world full of variants where people are seeing each other and all this stuff, and you're playing off of the Johnny Storms compared to the Captain Americas, why couldn't you get another person for this role? Why couldn't you make it be so original? You have 4 different Fantastic Four casts. You didn't go back to the well for that. So why are we doing it for him?
I'm almost surprised they didn't attach this to a teaser for Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, everybody knows this was
an announcement instead.
Yeah, because it was the same weekend anyway. Everybody knew that Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be massive. Like, it is not only the highest grossing movie probably of the year so far, but for the MCU in a little bit, right? It just feels like the announcement maybe would have landed a little bit better if it didn't feel so much like, and hey, here's Downey Jr.
But it did do well, right? Like, you and I know how to be like, however, yay or nay on the subject, it was effective. That was like an announcement. It was a bombshell. A+ on the reveal
talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. The dude wasn't he just like chilling in the back and then walks up and then takes it off? The presentation. Yeah. He has too much charisma for it to not pop off like that. How it's going to play into it, we'll see. That's why I think it's a really big pivot, because they had nothing to show. They barely revealed titles. We were even talking about earlier in the weekend release for a movie filled with cameos. They brought the cameos up on stage.
Yeah. I think Luna brought that up in the live stream. Did you think that was lame of them to reveal the cameos in that way?
I don't think they knew they were going to make that much money at that point then. Why would you blow them all away like that? Why is Robert Downey Jr. just being announced? We haven't even gotten him on site yet.
Right?
Like, were y'all that scared of DC's announcements that haven't even happened yet? All James Gunn did was show a logo that we don't have in HD yet because someone had to film it. This sounds to me like a slow news week. This sounds like an outlet having to put out whatever. What was announced this weekend? The Thunderbolts we already knew? The Deadpool cameos that we're supposed to see in theaters? Like, if you look at all the news from Disney, it felt like a last-minute addition just to compete with whatever everybody else has.
Definitely.
I'm seeing Kevin say people don't care about DC Studios. It's a different DC Studios. What are we even talking about there? The only leak we have of this weekend is that logo, is the Superman stuff. And that's why when you're bringing comparisons for what we already know in the MCU, none of that matters until you get DC to come out and be like, well, they're not doing it. And that is what gets the rivalry going again. We're at the part where the MCU is acting like the DCU, and DC is new. They're on a completely different path, all coming from the remnants that made the old MCU what it was. That's why I'm a little worried with these announcements, because it definitely feels like we don't know how to make something new, so we're going back in our bag. It can still be good, but I don't like people making moves that way.
Yeah, it's scared moves, and I feel like scared moves tend to not really be your best moves. Were there any other bits of news that broke from Comic-Con that caught your eye? I know you were hotly anticipating that new Fantastic Four movie. They revealed the title as First Steps, which,
okay,
yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful. Fantastic Four First Steps.
Why? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little weird.
Are they babies?
Baby stuff. Yeah, this looks like, when the movie comes out, they have like a baby book for you to read to your kid.
Yeah,
that's what that sounds like.
The baby book companion.
It goes with the baby Mozart for you to play out loud. I don't really get that, but I will say that I like the idea of them being in a different universe, so they can do New York from scratch. They were giving out some. I like the style of it. That futuristic 60s looked really cool. So they had the car out there.
Wasn't there also confirmation that they will be in the Avengers movies? So are they? So they're starting in a different version of Earth, and then the variants collide as they tend to in all these multiverse things.
Yeah, see, you got it. Look at you, MCU expert. Look at you.
Oh man.
Hey, this is going to be cool because I don't want to see them have to make up for where were they during this and that and this and the T'Challa and all this, the Chitauri. No, just they were over here doing their thing the entire time. And eventually they'll be roped in to whatever the timeline is. It allows for a fresher story. We know eventually they're all going to reboot it, but this feels like a soft reboot into it. So I'm hoping that we can get enough story of them before they become like a big fighter. we had a couple Iron Men before we got to him fighting and sacrificing his life.
That
They
feels
really want to rush into the sacrifice of the life before we even
right.
know who they are living. Yeah.
That feels like one of the big missteps with the more recent MCU films is they are like so eager to put all these characters together in a big team up that
Mhm.
they don't really give you a proper amount of time with the characters just in their own worlds doing their own adventures.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think the cast looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
And again, I like the style that they're going for it. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hope it does well.
Yeah. I don't know if
He's
this
the
is
name.
this is confirmed or just something that I saw and read on Twitter, but is Jeremy Renner also coming back for these Avengers movies? Speaking of bringing back all the old people.
In Deadpool, when he told Gambit, "You look like if Hawkeye was an actual superhero," that was funny. That's all I have to say to that. I don't care if he comes back or not, bro. But you saw what did get revealed with those hacks?
Oh no, tell me.
I think Disney got hacked, and one
Yes.
of the revelations was that they made Jeremy Renner take down his app because contractually they were only supposed to find news about him. So that's
And I
all.
haven't gotten any Jeremy Renner news since
I
then. So.
I haven't. Nah, I'm behind on it, so I don't know. I guess I don't really care for him to be there, but
Yeah.
sure. I don't think so because again, I see Luna's bringing up Young Avengers. That would have been an announcement. And that's why I'm saying I was like, there weren't announcements. It was just like re-mentioning what we already know about Thunderbolts and everyone else who's going to be out there.
Right.
So,
apparently there was a bit of test footage or a leak of a trailer or something like that shown at Comic-Con for Fantastic Four that was going around a bit, but
yeah, I saw some stills.
I didn't see any of it before it got taken down.
Yeah.
Anything to pique your interest or just
It looks like
average...
crap because it's camp.
Yeah.
But again, it's more so going with the style of them being in a futuristic 60s environment.
Nice. All right. Any other news we should hit before we get to the patrons and picks for the week?
I think other than some of the DC stuff that was announced, like we said with the logo, I know the Penguin had a fire exhibition. Did you see that?
I did not.
The place blew up, so they had to get everybody out of there. So I guess that's one way to get some traction for your stuff. But yeah, I think like the Warner Brothers side of it was just releasing a lot of trailers and teasers. So they're getting ready for this fall, whereas Marvel has nothing for the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice. All right, so we'll talk more about some more news as it comes out. But let's take a moment to thank the Intercuties who do so much to support our show. Those wonderful people on the specifically on the Academy tier are Tushar, Cademan, Connor, Josh May, Ricky, Joe, Wiley, Benji, Matt, and Jeremy. And then the producer level patrons are Yuden Veer, Toon, and Brandon G. Thanks again to all of them for their continued support, and shout outs to all of you because you can become part of the Intercuties right here on YouTube by clicking the join button underneath this video, or if you're listening, you can head over to patreon.com/intercutpod, where you can sign up for as little as $3 a month to get patron benefits like early access to Intercut episodes, a look at our episode outlines and brackets before we record them, access to the private channels on the Intercut Discord, which you can always join by using the link in the description, and you get an invitation to our monthly video chat hangouts with the Intercuties. The last one we did last week, which was really fun time to catch up, talk about Wolverine and Deadpool, talk about Twisters. What else did we talk about? We talked about a lot of stuff we always talk about so many things on those calls. We get really political. No, we don't, but I don't know. But yeah, shouts to all of you who continue to support the show. We appreciate it. Art, should we talk about the coming attractions?
Let's go. Since you got it pulled up, you tell me, I'll give you the yay or nay on this, on whether you should spend your coin, your AMC A-list check-in for the week.
All right, so Kneecap, which is a film we first saw back at Sundance earlier this year. You going yay or nay on Kneecap?
Yeah, this one was really good, dude. We got to catch it at home for the VOD that we had, which was good because this is one where they are speaking not just a dialect when it's in English, but they specifically speak an older version of their Irish language that they're worried is like going to be taken away. This is also a band that performed at South by or was supposed to, and then decided to pull out. So it's a rap group that really, really showcases its punk roots. So thumbs up on this one, Kneecap.
Yeah, I liked it a lot as well. It feels like those John Carney movie musicals, like Once or Sing Street, but maybe with a little bit of a harder edge.
Super great, yeah.
The horror film from Neon with Hunter Schafer. Yeah or nay on this one?
Cuckoo. You know, I I know a lot of people are excited for this one, and I hope they really enjoy it. This is Neon also,
Yeah, Neon.
and Long Legs is doing crazy, crazy money right now. They're just mentioning "Talk to Me" left in the dust. What's it called? I think they just passed up Hereditary. Movie is making money. I see it maybe approaching the 100 mil mark, which is an insane number for that. I don't think Cuckoo will get there, but much bigger star than Micah Monroe. I see a lot of people going to go support Hunter Schafer, but I do think that the movie is better at home. I think you
Yeah,
had a couple of issues with its horror elements, and I had a couple of issues with its tone and pacing.
yeah. I mean, box office wise, I feel like this is realms of like immaculate, something like that. And I don't
It'll do
know if
well.
people,
Yeah.
I don't know if people are going out to the theater for Hunter Schafer the same way they did for Sydney Sweeney yet. Sydney's, had a couple more
Mm.
movies under her belt. But there's definitely like an interest in this movie. I'm curious how it's going to land with people. When we saw it at South by Southwest, I thought it was kind of ridiculous. I don't know.
It is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, the villain just didn't really work for me. It was one of those. There's a certain brand of horror films that are so aggressively loud that they almost like
Sure.
take me out of the experience, because I feel you trying to punish your audience, and it makes me
Yeah.
like resentful of your movie. So maybe bring some earplugs,
Yeah.
and hopefully you'll enjoy Cuckoo more than we did.
Well, we found out that it was a late minute casting for one of the actors, and once you see that, you go, interesting.
Mm.
All my tone problems come from this guy coming in to do something different. You're talking about the loud noises? That happens for horror movies where they didn't have something set, so the editor helps them out a bit. I can tell a project when it wasn't cohesively fully made with the intent that they originally had for it, and I think that's because of a last minute addition that they had in the cast. So either they should have gone his tone, or I don't know, recast again. But that's what happens when you film movies out in the middle of nowhere.
The movie that I know you absolutely can't wait for this weekend,
Talk about it. Got the
Harold
book
and
ready.
the Purple
Yes, sir.
Crayon, starring none other than Zachary Levi, the adaptation you have just been itching to see. Get
That's
your
Ryan Reynolds
eyeballs
Jr.,
on.
right?
Basically,
Kind of, bro.
if
I
you
saw
can't
him. I thought it
afford
was,
Ryan Reynolds for your movie,
bro. I looked at the poster for this. I thought it was If 2.0. Come on now.
do
I
you
I
read
have a
Harold
lot.
and the Purple Crayon?
No, but I know a lot of teachers. Both my sisters are teachers. They know Harold and the Purple Crayon. They're looking forward to this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. I mean, for the kids, I guess. I know nothing about it. I saw one trailer. I think it was like Chalk Zone. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the trailer makes it look like this like weird epic fantasy, and I don't know. I didn't realize that's what the book was like. Is that what the
Is
book's like? I thought he was a kid.
Is before Kang Dynasty, or does this one come after?
No, this is like Shazam 1.5.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The real movie that is the highlight of this weekend, and I'm hoping it's going to deliver. Trap, the latest from M. Night Shyamalan. This one about Josh Hartnett taking his teen daughter to a pop concert, realizing that he is at the center of the police's attention. This one's got a really killer trailer. I'm hoping that M. Night's got the twists to deliver on this premise, but if there's one thing M. Night's got, it's twists in his movies.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a little more skeptical?
Well, they pushed this one up. That's what we were talking about. This one's supposed to come out till next week, but he's like, "Nah, I got to push this up." You saw that they're doing no screenings for critics at
Yes.
all. It's so secretive. They're doing no screenings opening night, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. The movie's just not showing anywhere. There's no way for you to see this. He wants to make sure it's a surprise. So we'll see. Look. I'm my only worry is that it hinges on one thing, and that the movie's just every 10 minutes they almost got him slipped through the bathroom. They almost got him slipped through the hall. I don't want to see that. It's boring because I know that half of them are going to be like, "Oh, just your luck. Just your luck."
Yeah.
To me, the premise is kind of I'm excited. To me,
Yeah.
the premise is kind of stupid.
Sure.
How do you
But
know he's there? Because you
isn't
scanned his ticket. Go find his ticket. You could have gotten him the moment he came in. It is so dumb, the premise.
Sure, but isn't a beach that makes you old also kind of dumb?
Yeah, but they told us that was stupid going in, bro. You know, like that was. They told me there was a SWAT team or something like that. I was like, yeah, that's dumb as can be. They're all idiots. That movie had a character named Midsize Sedan.
Best rapper in the game.
You just pitched me Josh Hartnett coming off of Oppenheimer. I'm holding him to a bigger standard than Robert Downey Jr. coming back.
How about this? Josh Hartnett coming off of The Bear season 3.
It's the one reason I'm rooting for him. I'm
Yeah.
hoping a lot, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like M. Night, even when he doesn't deliver a quality movie, he delivers an entertaining experience. So I'm at least looking forward to that much.
We'll see.
2 big releases this weekend on Netflix, and
Massive.
3 if we're
Three.
getting
Yeah.
specific
They're
about it.
separate.
The Rebel Moon director's cuts for part 1 and part 2 are releasing on Friday. You finally are going to get a chance to see Zack Snyder's true vision, the one that Netflix wouldn't allow him to show you 6 months ago.
Yeah. I'm glad he got it cleared. The petition worked.
Yeah. That hashtag just wouldn't stop trending.
I hope it gets beat by this next movie. The fact that you got 2 3-hour jumbotrons coming out, going up against.
Yeah, Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, the latest SpongeBob cinematic universe adventure. Are you a SpongeBob guy?
Well, Lena is.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So you're putting this on midnight?
Sorry, Lena was. She's your old school one. I don't think we've kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
a Bikini Bottom movie in a minute.
What is it with the SpongeBob movies and completely throwing out the art style for every new one?
I don't know, bro. This one leaked. This one leaked last year, I think. If you remember, there was like a huge big deal, and everyone just did not care. So I have, the reviews are in, and I don't think people care. They didn't care when it leaked. I don't think they care when it's officially out. But I mean, it's a new SpongeBob. It's Sandy Cheeks, but I think people will be there for it. It's not going to theaters though, which I find fascinating. It just shows you the level of how bad each one has gone.
Yeah. Well, if you don't care about the Sandy Cheeks movie, maybe let the people know what you do care about. What are your picks for the week? The movies we should be watching this weekend.
I got a 2 for here. My picks for the week, I'm going a new one and an old one. I'm going Kill. This is the new film that was out in theaters for a little bit that premiered at Toronto for the midnight section. That's supposed to be all gory. It's all happening on a train. And I thought it was pretty interesting. It takes a while to get there, but pretty much the entire movie is taking place in this train where they're like doing a whole beat 'em up style, almost like The Raid meets like Snowpiercer as they're moving in and out of this I don't even know what you would call it because it's like one of those massive trains like in Murder of the Orient Express where people get their own rooms and stuff. But I thought the choreography was pretty good. It's very bloody. It would have been a pretty fun film to catch in the midnight section. And it's now available at home on VOD.
Nice.
My second pick would be a super throwback to Signs. We got to rewatch this bad boy again. Technically, I think I saw it on the Max, but
you got your DVD?
He's got the documentary. I never caught the documentary. It's like the whatever part series that he did breaking down how he shot Signs and what it's supposed to mean, and it being like a very religious sentiment to him. But it was pretty good, bro. That Mel Gibson guy can really act, and Joaquin's fantastic in it. Because we got Village queued up next as well. But yeah, nice little solid throwback to Signs right before you go see Trap. So you remember how well this man used to be in that pocket. Visually, the scares, the music, the sound, but especially the acting. I think that's been one of the things that has really been lost. I think he used to get a lot better performances out of his actors, and now he's calling for more of a plot-driven thing because he's known more for the twist and less for the characters now. And I think that a lot of people don't fully care. In The Sixth Sense, him saying "I see dead people" stands out more because of his performance than the actual reveal in the movie.
Right.
If that makes sense. And now he's more focused on the reveals in the movie. And you're getting mid-sized sedan saying, "I'm mid-sized sedan." And I'm like, that's not a performance, bro. That's what I worry he's doing with Josh Hartnett.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, not a bad time to do an M. Night rewatch if you've been putting off visiting some of the classics. I know I've never seen The Village, so I'm going to make sure I mark that off my watch list before I go see Trap. And we might be talking a bit more about M. Night on Intercut not so far in the future. So maybe do that homework to stay up with us. Just 2 picks this week.
Just 2 picks.
It's a light week. Not a whole lot out there to recommend. I will recommend Kneecap, though, which was really enjoyable. And as we mentioned, a pretty solid, modern movie musical in kind of the style of John Carney, about these rappers who are rapping. I believe it's in Gaelic, and it's partly preserving the culture and language of Ireland, and partly this like youthful political rebellion to it's a pretty cool story about a pretty interesting band, Kneecap. And they also play themselves in the movie, which is kind of unique. So that's one thing that you can see in theaters. If you do want to stay at home, I would definitely recommend you check out the Criterion channel, not just because it's always like such a treasure trove of classic movies, but because in August they are debuting 2 new programs, both of which sound just like my ideal time sitting down watching some movies. They are doing a directed by Paul Thomas Anderson program and uploading many of his classics, including There'll Be Blood, The Master, Punch Drunk Love, my favorite, Magnolia, and Licorice Pizza. But they're also doing a starring Phillip Seymour Hoffman retrospective with The Master and Punch Drunk Love, as well as Capote, The Savages, and Synecdoche, New York. So a bunch of like all-time classic movies. Phillip Seymour Hoffman, maybe my favorite actor ever. Paul Thomas Anderson, probably my favorite filmmaker ever. So see a bunch of the movies that I think are most special to me. You can check out the Criterion channel throughout August. But maybe you're like me and you're out there looking for movies to watch and you're a little tired of the options and just not really feeling like what's getting released is speaking to you right now.
Read a book.
You know what? I've been doing a little more of that too recently, but we'll talk about Night Pitch later. I want to talk a bit. I want to bring you back to Zach's podcast corner. Really pleasant, really relaxed place where we sit and we put on our headphones and we take a journey to some storytelling. And this week on Zach's podcast corner, I want to talk a bit about Hysterical. I don't know if you've heard anything about this. It's a new podcast from Wondery, but more specifically, it's a new podcast from Dan Taberski, who is one of the probably iconic names in podcasting alongside people like Sarah Koenig and Ira Glass. His podcasts from the Y2K podcast that he did, to Missing Richard Simmons, to my favorite of his, which is Running from Cops, about the Cops reality show, are all just like incredible bits of audio storytelling. And this latest one, Hysterical, is about a mysterious illness that spread amongst a bunch of high school girls in upstate New York that caused them to have sudden violent symptoms, including verbal and physical tics. And it sort of became this big mystery. He has just a really smart way about telling these stories that doesn't feel very reporterly, feels very much kind of like conversational and on the ground. He feels like a real person talking about this stuff, not just some like robot who's written a perfect script for it. I really like how he presents the podcasts, and this one is a really, really intriguing story. So Hysterical, if you're looking for an audio companion, I'd recommend that one.
Sounds good.
All right, so our picks for the week are the podcast Hysterical that I was just mentioning, the directed by Paul Thomas Anderson and starring Phillip Seymour Hoffman retrospective on the Criterion channel. I'm shouting out Kneecap, the movie musical. And Art, you've got
Kill, Signs, and my theory that Robert Downey Jr. better not be Dr. Doom and that there's actually a Dr. Doom. I don't care if he's a variant, but I just hope that it's like a bit that they're doing really early on so we don't have to worry about it, and that way they're able to make their Avengers movies that they're really scared to make without Robert Downey Jr. because they think that they won't make enough money.
What are they doing? Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3 or something like that? Like,
right? I'm telling you, bro, it's got to be something else. I really hope that it ends up being a bit. And it's just them knowing that, they haven't released an Avengers film without RDJ, so they just needed the rabbit's foot in there.
All right, man. Well, those are our picks for the week. Why don't you take us home?
That is all for this week's show. You can find me at LME Movies. You can find the Intercut podcast over at the Intercut Pod. You can find Zach tweeting about all the recent stuff over at
Zshevich on Twitter or other social platforms. And you can find more videos from me at Multiplex Show, wherever people find videos.
A reminder that you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. And you can watch the live video here on YouTube, where every Monday we go through the weekend must-watch picks, which this week was one ginormous movie that is probably crossed the $500 million mark since we started this. Big shout out to all the Intercuties who listen live, all of the patrons and all the iTunes listeners who leave us that 5-star review. We charted this week in the void.
Definitely in the void. I mean, Nigeria, Czech Republic, UAE, Singapore, Portugal, Poland, South Africa, Netherlands, Germany, Australia, Canada, and right here in the USA.
So pretty clean. Don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow the socials over on Intercut Pod. I think, Zach, you're going to have the goodbye. I don't know if you got a quote for it before you hit the button, have one? But until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
What's the best Deadpool quote?
You come again, but this time in my ear.